Save hours with Notion, relations and rollups. Have you ever found yourself endlessly retyping things in a database, wrestling with broken relations and rollups, or even staring at relations and rollups and don't know what they are and what they do? Then you're absolutely alone with this problem. Just kidding, you're not alone. I also used to struggle with this a lot. By the end of this video, hopefully that frustration is history. At least, I try my best to achieve that. You will not only master how Notion, relations and rollups work, but also streamline your workflow, reclaiming time every single day. And the good thing is, it's a clear, repeatable system. But to master it, I had to invest a lot of time and brain power learning, experimenting, breaking and rebuilding databases and dashboards. My finance tracker dashboard, which is also available in the shop, was peak level relations and rollups for me. And all of that is something most people aren't willing to do. So you might ask yourself, why was that even necessary and why should you care if you haven't gone through this yet? Relations are, in my opinion, one of the most important features in Notion. Like, just imagine trying to build a house on a shaky foundation. Without mastering the core principles, every Notion dashboard you build risks collapsing into chaos. I spend a lot of time figuring out these things, and now I want to teach you all of this in this video. To achieve that, I will break down this video into 4 different chapters. Also make sure to stick to the end, because there I will show you an advanced rollup that isn't really a rollup. And I will tell you why you don't actually need rollups, but why you still need to know how they work, as well as a very complex setup for inspiration, so what is possible with them. And for those who don't know me, my name is Leon and I'm excited to guide you through this. Let's get started. In this chapter, I want to tell you what relations and rollups are. Relations and rollups are actually very easy once it makes click. Before it makes click, it's very hard and confusing, and that's okay. As I said, I also used to struggle with this a lot, and now I overcame this challenge. So I know how you feel, and I will give my best so that by the end of this video, it hopefully made click for you. The first thing we need for relations and rollups are 2 databases, because in the word relation is the word relate, so we can relate one thing to another. Of course, you can relate a database to itself, but let's keep that out for now. As you can see, in every database, for example in the task database, you have properties that provide additional information to the entry. For example, for put the tires on, let me add the minutes, I can not only see the name, I can say, okay, I worked 25 minutes on this task and it's a priority 1 task. That is much more information than just the name. Now, what relations allow us to do is to connect the databases. So you can see we have a project database for itself and we have a task database for itself. And as you can see, we have entries. For example, I have built my own car and built my own skyscraper as projects I of course want to do. And then I have tasks that are part of this, but these databases are not connected. And what relations now do is they allow us to connect these 2 standalone databases. It's like a bridge between them. As a visual reference, just imagine this database to be a city and this database to be a city, and the space between here is a river. So what we need to do, and this is where relations come in handy, is we can build a bridge to connect them. And what rollups do is rollups build on relation. So there needs to be a relation in order to be a rollup, because the rollups use the relation. And what rollups allow us to do is we can use properties of other databases. For example, if they are connected, we can then pull this over and calculate the minutes worked on a project based on the tasks that are related to the project. But I will show you this even more in depth in the next chapters. And that's it for this chapter. Let's move on to the next chapter. In this chapter, I want to go into relations more in depth and install the first relation with you. In this chapter, there is more than one example. We also have a second and a third example, because someone might not get this example, then he might understand this example or this example, which is absolutely okay. So these are just to increase the likelihood of you understanding this. So as I already showed you, for the first example, we have two projects: build my own car and build my own skyscraper. And then we have tasks like put the tires on, install the elevators, install the shift stick, paint the walls, and install the seats. Then you can see here we have an installed relation. So we related tasks to projects. So what we can see here is we related the task put the tires on, install the shift stick, and install the seats to the project build my own car. Same for build my own skyscraper. We related the tasks install the elevators and paint the walls. In the next example, we have directors, in this case Christopher Nolan and Joseph Kosinski. And in the movie database, we have the movie F1, Top Gun Maverick, The Dark Knight, and Interstellar. And we can relate the F1 movie and Top Gun Maverick to Joseph Kosinski as the director. And same for Dark Knight and Interstellar, we can connect them to Christopher Nolan. And the third example is a month and expenses example. So we have June 2025 and July 2025 as an example. And then we have different expenses like boots in June, winter jacket in June, a subscription in June, a musical in July, and the same subscription in July again. And then we can relate it to the month. For example, boots, winter jacket, and the subscription is related to June, and musical and subscription, the second entry, is related to July. Now let's try to rebuild the first example. First, click on Add Property and select Relation. Then select Chapter 2 Tasks Build. Then for the limit, leave no limit, because if we only select one page, we can only relate one task to one project. But we have more than one task, so we want no limit, which means that we can relate 3 or unlimited tasks to one project. Then we want to also install a two-way relation. So as you can see here, we have the relation property showed here and showed here. If I only have a one-way relation, I will see it in here, but not in here, which is in my opinion not that convenient. So we want to have a two-way relation to see it in both databases. Then we can click on Add Relation, and then we can start relating. For example, for build my own skyscraper, I can select paint the walls and install the elevators. So I can choose it from here, but I can also go into the task database and select build my own car from here. Now, if I expand this a bit more and switch the order, you can see this looks exactly the same. One thing I want to show you, which is special, is if you have two entries which are the same. Let's delete the relation here and relate it again. What I can do is I can go into the first one and see it's June and select June easily here. But if I go into July 2025, it's impossible to see which one is which. I might guess that it's the same order, so the second one is this one, but I don't know, I have no idea. So what I can do is I can click on the three dots here and I can show properties for the entries here, for example the date. And then I can see this one is the June one and this one is the July one. We want to select the July one, so I can click here. And this is one thing that might help you out if you need it. And that's it for this chapter. Let's move on to the next chapter. In this chapter, I want to show you the rollup more in depth and install the first rollup with you together. In the first example, you can see I have two new properties that do something. I have tasks done for the project and I have minutes worked. As you can see, we related three tasks, which are put the tires on, install the shift stick, and install the seats. and we have a done property. And as you can see, for build my own car, 2 of them are checked, which is also displayed up here automatically. And for build my own skyscraper, there is 1 of 2 tasks checked, which we can also see here. And same for minutes worked. If we calculate this, for build my own car, we have 45 minutes and we have 25 minutes, which is in total 70, which is exactly what you can see on top of here. And we have 60 minutes for build my own skyscraper, which is also displayed up here. Same for the directors database. We have a movies property, which will show us the movies related to a director, and we can see we have 2 movies for Joseph Kosinski, which we also have here, and 2 for Christopher Nolan, which we can see here. This updates automatically. And also same for the third example, but here we want to see the whole expenses for a month. So we have 300 in June, 100 in June, and 199 in June, which is in total 401.99, which we can also see over here. And for July, we have €7.83 and €1.99, which is €9.82 up here. Of course, with these numbers, it's pretty easy, but if the list gets longer, this comes in very handy. It will calculate the whole amount spent. Now let's recreate that. Go over here and click on Rollup. Then click in here, and as I said, there needs to be a relation. So let's select our relation between the projects and tasks database. Then we need to select a property from our tasks database that we want to use. We have name, we have the relation, we have done, minutes worked, and the priority. What we want to do, because we want to see the task done, we need to select the done property. And what we can do then is, as you can see here, we can see the first one is checked, the second one is checked, but the third one is unchecked. So we want to see how many are checked, and this is what we can do here. We can count the ones that are checked. So 2 for build my own car and 1 for build my own skyscraper. And that's our first roll-up. But we also need a second roll-up. So click on plus again, select roll-up, select our first relation. Then in this case, we want to select our minutes worked, and then we want to sum this up. So we want to calculate 45 plus 25. So we need to click on more options, and then we can sum them up, which is exactly what we have over here. And by doing that, we have our second roll-up in place. Now you might have noticed that there are a lot of options in the third menu. And one thing I can tell you is they vary from property to property. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. In here, we only have 1, 2, 3. So it depends from the property in the other database what the third menu will look like. And there are a lot of different things possible. What we can do is we can say, I want to see the highest number, which is in this case 45, because it's bigger than 25. In this case, we only have 1, so it's 60. What we can also do is we can get a range. In the first one, it's 0. In the second one, we have 45 and 25, and the difference is 20. What we can also do, we can see the percentage for not empty. We have 66.67% because 2 out of 3 have a value. In the second one, only 1 has a value in minutes worked, so it's 50%. And there is a lot more possible. You can experiment with this. And that's it for this chapter. Let's move on to the next chapter. In this chapter, I want to show you the advanced roll-up that isn't actually a roll-up. If you haven't understood the first 3 chapters, please rewatch them and don't watch this chapter because this will confuse you even more. If you feel comfortable, bear with me and watch this chapter. Now what you can see is we have three databases: a projects database, a task database, and a time database. What I did is I installed a relation because the first database and the second one, so projects and tasks, and one between tasks and time, but no relation between the first one and the third one. And what we don't do in this example anymore is we don't write the minutes in the task database. What we do is we create time entries for a task. For example, for the first one, you can see store the elevators. We have two time entries. Let's say I worked on this yesterday evening and this morning, both for 30 minutes. I can relate it to the task and sum it up with a rollup. Same for put the tires on and install the shift stick. Now, what I also want to do is I don't only want to see the minutes worked for a task based on the time entries. I also want to see the minutes worked for the projects database. But there is a problem. I can't, this is a rollup property, I can't use a rollup property in a rollup. That's not possible. So what I did is I created a helper property, a formula property. And what this does is I only pasted the minutes worked property in here. So it shows the exact same values. But I can now use that helper property and sum it. So I get 70 and 60 once again. So now I used this property. So 1, 2, 3, 4 properties to get the minutes worked on the project displayed in the projects database. But there is a faster way with the advanced rollup that isn't really a rollup. What I can do is I can open this minutes worked 2. So these are the exact same values. What I did in here is I called the chapter for tasks relation. Same as here. Here I also use it. Then I write map, and map will always show you properties from related pages. So in this case, we write map, then current dot, and then we select minutes worked. So same as here, we use minutes worked formula. In this case, we use this helper property. In our second example, we can directly access the minutes worked because this is a formula property and not a rollup property. And at the end, we can sum this, same as here. Now, let me do one thing. Let me take this minutes worked formula and show original. So we have 25, 45, and 0. And let me go over this by hand. What we can do is we can say map, and then we can say current. And what this will show us when I only say map and current is we will see the pages from the relation, the exact same. Then I can go a step ahead and say I want to have the minutes worked property. Then we can see we have what this rollup does. We have 25, 45, and 0. And then what we can do in here is we can say sum, and in here we can do the same, but we do dot sum as a function, and we get the same. But because we directly access this, we save one property. So we have not 1, 2, 3, 4 properties. We have 1, 2, 3. What we can do now is we can add text around it. So we can say we want to display not only the number, but a text. So I worked for 70 minutes. What we do is we can write I worked for as a string, then plus, and at the end, after a plus, minutes, and in the middle we can insert the minutes worked property. So I have I worked for, then I use this 70 in this case, and then minutes. As you might have guessed, there is a faster way in this minutes for property. So before we use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we use this in here. So now we have 5. When I do this, I could, for example, also call our minutes worked formula. I can do it this way. I can say minutes worked 2. I get this, but I can also leave that out and directly get this in here. So now I have 1, 2, and I directly get this into here. So 3 again, because I don't use it, I directly get it. So I have, before I had 4 properties to 3 properties. Now I have 5 properties to 3 properties. And now let's move one step ahead. As I said, we have a relation between these databases and these databases. So there is no direct relation between them. But when you imagine this as a city, this as a city, this as a city, and the relations as bridges, here a bridge and here a bridge, if you want to get from this to this, you can go over this bridge into this city, cross the city, and over this bridge to here. So there doesn't have to be a bridge between them, only here and here. And what we will do now is, in this minutes worked from times, we directly want to grab them from here and display them in here. So in total, we only want to use 1, 2. So 2 properties compared to 5. So in here, I write my normal text. I work 4 plus and then plus minutes. And what I do here is we have our normal relation calling. Then we have .map, current dot, and then what we don't do is we don't say we want to get the minutes worked property from the tasks database. The relation between these 2 databases is also a property of this. And that's what we want to call. So we have a pattern. We call this relation, and then we have the exact same pattern. Relation.map current, and then we are in this database. So this here gets us to this database. Then we access this relation, and this brings us to over here. You can see it with this hashtag. This is this property. And then what we get is we get a list of lists. So normally we have a list, as I showed you, with this 25, 45, and 0. That's a normal list. Now we have a list of lists. I will now show you an animation so you can visually see what I want to say. And then what we need to do before we can sum this, we need to flat this out to a normal list. You can also see this on screen right now. And then when we have a normal list, then we can sum it. And once again, we get 70 minutes. So it's very effective, way faster, and yes, basically better in my opinion. Now let's get our hands dirty and let's move over to the building section of chapter number 4. Now click on minutes worked and click on insert right. Select the formula property, click in here and choose the minutes worked. So now we have the helper property. Let's call it minutes worked formula. So same as here. And then once again, select our rollup property, select the tasks build relation, minutes worked formula, and then sum. So now we have the basic rollup with this helper property. Now let's create the advanced rollup together. Click on, now let's first shrink this, click on plus, click on formula, let's call it minutes worked 2. Then let's select our relation chapter for tasks built. Then write .map, press enter, current .minutes worked, and then go outside of the parentheses, press dot, and then select sum, and we are done. It's pretty easy once you are used to it. And now let's skip this one here where we basically only call it. Let's directly go to this one here, and let's not duplicate it. Let's do it once again. Formula, minutes worked 3, write I worked 4, then space plus space, then call our relation dot map current dot, then minutes worked outside dot, then sum, and then plus minutes. Now we have I worked for 70 minutes. And now the big final, let's recreate this here. Click on plus, formula, minutes worked from time. Click in here and write I worked for once again, plus, and then call the relation, write dot map current dot, then select our relation, write dot map, then current dot, and then we can select our minutes worked, get outside of both parentheses, write dot flat dot sum, and we have I worked for 70, then go outside here, write plus, and then minutes again, and we are finished. Remember, in a previous chapter I showed you an example for expenses and months. If you now want to build the full dashboard, also including income, watch this video over here, where you can further practice what you learned. Stay